Hey, how's it going? I'm Alicia. Welcome back to my channel. Today's class, Yoga 101. This is class number 1 of a 5-part series. Today's class we'll be learning yoga warm-ups and we'll end up in downward facing dog. We won't even come up to standing today. So just really getting started. If you've never taken a yoga class before, you are in the right place. If you have a blanket and a couple blocks to use for today's class, go grab those and I will meet you on our mats. I like to begin every class seated or lying down, taking a couple minutes to relax, breathe, and just center ourselves. Sort of leaving behind whatever's going on in life and coming into our little yoga world for the next few minutes. So let's begin lying down. Arms and legs can be whatever is comfortable for you. Stretch out like a big starfish if that feels good. Just rest your body flat on the ground. I personally like to bend my knees, take my feet really wide, and let my knees fall in together. I like to have my right hand on my belly, my left hand up toward my heart. And then we'll take a couple minutes to focus on our breath and relax our bodies. So noticing anything going on with your body today, anything sore, any pain, tension. If you need like a little wiggle or a stretch somewhere, go ahead and take a little movement here. Begin to deepen your breath. Let your inhale be long and slow. And let your exhale follow smooth and even. Beginning our 3-part belly breath. Inhale, let your belly fill, your right hand will lift up. Continue filling up your lungs, filling up to the top of your chest. It feels like you're full up to your collarbones. And then exhale from the top, emptying the top of your chest, your lungs, your belly empties last. Give your abs a little squeeze. And then begin another round. Fill your belly, your lungs, up to your collarbones. Empty from the top, collarbones, lungs, belly, squeeze your abs. A few more rounds of breath like this. Take one more deep belly breath. When you exhale, give your abs a big squeeze, get out all the old air. And then return to your natural breathing pattern. If you want to rest your arms down, if you want to change the position of your legs, go ahead. We often set an intention for our yoga practice, a reason we're here on the mat today. That could be something physical, to have less pain in your back, more openness in your legs. Could be an emotional reason, to have less stress, more peace, more happiness. So take a moment here just to think about what's bringing you to the mat today. And with your next inhale, start to reach your arms up, stretch your legs down, a full body stretch. And grab onto your left wrist, pull it up and over your head, point your left toes down, stretch out your left side. One more breath. And release and switch. Take your right wrist up and over, point your right toes down, and stretch out your right side. Take one more breath on this side. And release your arms. Start to walk your feet in. Place your feet flat on the floor in front of your butt. Take them a little bit wide, maybe as wide as your mat. And then gently let them windshield over to the right, pick them up, and they windshield to the left. Take your knees side to side a couple times. One more time each side. Bring your knees in above your belly. You can place your hands on your knees and rock left to right. And start to change your rock to front to back. So here you can roll onto your side to come up to sit, or you can take a few more of these rock and rolls and eventually rock your way up to sit. Legs can be crossed or straight out in front of you, whatever feels more comfortable. We'll be here just for a moment to take a stretch for our wrists. So hold your right hand out, your palm toward me, and then gently pull your fingers back, looking for a stretch in the front of your forearm. And you can move your hand up, down, maybe bend your elbow, however you find a gentle stretch here in your arm. Maybe take your fingers a little bit side to side. And then begin to release your fingers one at a time. Flip your hand back of the palm facing me and pull your knuckles back. A little stretch here in the top of your wrist. And begin to let your knuckles go. Give your right hand a couple circles, maybe a gentle shake. And over to the left side. Hold your left hand out, pull your fingers back. Play with the height of your hand. You can find more or less intensity in this stretch. And begin to let your fingers go one at a time. And then your hand flips and you pull your knuckles back. Begin to release your knuckles. Give your left hand a couple circles, maybe a little shake. And let's make our way to tabletop on hands and knees. Grab your blanket here if you like a little extra cushion under your wrists or your knees. If it hurts to have your palm flat on the ground, you can set the heel of your hand up here onto your blanket. Take some of the pressure off of your wrists. If you have any sensitivity under your knees, slide the blanket under there for a little extra cushion. Allow your hands and your knees to go whatever feels natural for them. Don't worry about trying to, I don't even want to say it, but what I hear a lot is wrist under shoulders, knees under hips. And that's not really comfortable for most people's bodies. So don't worry about that. Do what feels good here. Personally, my hands go wider than my shoulders and my wrists spin out a little bit. So my fingertips aren't facing directly forward, but they're kind of going out to the side. And how far apart your fingers spread, again, that's what feels good for you. Beginning with cat and cow breaths. Inhale, your belly sinks down. Exhale, round your spine, pull your belly in. So you inhale, you're the cow, here's your big udder of air. And then you exhale, you're the cat, rounding up your spine. And moving with your breath here. Include your head and your tail if that feels good to you. Take another breath or two with your cat and cow. And we transition to our barrel roll. Your ribs press to the side, your belly sinks down, ribs press to the other side and round up, like you're scraping around inside of a barrel with your ribs. I like to start these kind of small and let them get a little bit bigger. You can have your arms bent or straight. Make this stretch feel good for you. And slow your barrel roll down. One more circle in this direction. And then take your barrel roll in the opposite way. Slow the roll again, one more circle in this direction. And coming back to tabletop. Bring your hands a little bit closer together so that they're underneath your body, so that you can root your left hand down, pick up your right, and begin to circle it. If it's okay with your head might follow your hand as it makes these big circles, opening up your shoulder. Take 2 more circles with your right arm. And after those 2, right hand down, circle your left. Two more circles with your left arm. And coming back to table, if you need to bring your hands back a little wide again, go ahead. Find your hands in a good secure position. Curl your toes under. With your next inhale, pick up your knees and hover them just an inch or so above the ground. Feel your core start to activate. Another breath here. Set your knees down. Take your knees a couple inches further back. Curl your toes under. Next inhale, lift and hover your knees. It might feel a little harder this round. I try to keep my gaze between my fingers, helps keep my neck in line with my spine. One more breath, set your knees down. You can keep your knees here or take them further back still so it looks like I'm basically in a plank on my knees. When I curl my toes under, I'll find myself in a full plank. Step back this far only if you want to. Next inhale, curl your toes, lift your knees. Another breath or 2. And drop your knees and sink your hips back to your heels, child's pose. So child's pose, your knees can be all the way together, belly to thigh, or you can take your knees as wide as is comfortable and stretch your torso out in between your legs. Begin to lift back up towards your tabletop. If you have a blanket underneath you, take a moment to move that to the side. And we lower all the way to our bellies. Beginning with Sphinx pose. Pull your elbows in so it looks like they're right under your shoulders and it looks like your forearms are pretty parallel. If this isn't comfortable for your chest or your ribs, adjust your elbows maybe a little bit forward, maybe a teeny bit out. Gently press the top of your feet, your legs are active, and then with your hands, give a little pull like you're pulling your chest forward through your arms, gazing ahead. Sphinx pose, or sometimes I call it the TV watching pose. That'd probably be more like this. One more breath. And then release your Sphinx, stack your hands, rest your head down for a breath. Begin to lift your head. You can take another round of Sphinx or go a little bit bigger with Cobra. For Cobra, I bring my hands sort of under my shoulders, but then they're a little bit wide and they might be a little forward. There isn't a perfect hand placement. It's what feels good for your wrist, elbows, and shoulders here. Shoulders, take them down away from your ears, pressing into your feet, press into your palms. Inhale, lift your chest. Try not to go into a huge cobra. There is really no benefit of this except that I'm crunching my spine. This cobra, I'm lifting my chest, I'm actually lengthening my spine forward, and I can actually pick up my hands because I'm using the muscles of my core to hold me in this pose rather than pushing into my hands and forcing my back into a giant back bend that really isn't all that good for our spine. One more breath in Cobra, and let it go. Stack your hands and rest your head down. Begin to lift your head. Bring your hands back under your shoulders and press your body back up to tabletop. We have made it to downward dog. So a couple words about our arms and our legs here in this pose. So first of all, if you take your arms out and hold them straight out in front of you and try to make the top of your arm bones parallel with each other. Notice that your wrists don't line up under our shoulders, like I mentioned when we were in tabletop. So the same thing in downward dog. Don't be trying to put your wrists somewhere because you heard someone say that. Listen to me, it'll be less painful. So I can't tell you exactly where to place your hands because I don't know exactly what your skeleton structure is. You may need to play around with this pose a couple times with different hand positions, different angles in your wrist, and see what works for you. From my tabletop, I take my wrists a little wide, they kind of spin out a little bit, and I never worry about straightening my legs. Downward dog is more about a straight spine, straight arms, than straight legs. Just don't worry about it. So begin to curl your toes, lift your hips. Keep that bend in your knees. Your head, your ears kind of line up next to your biceps. Notice if this is bothering your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders. Activate your core, a little squeeze in with the abs can help keep the spine nice and long. And from here, we might bend and straighten one knee at a time. Notice my heels are getting nowhere close to the ground, and it doesn't matter. Begin to drop your knees, and come on up to sit. Well, that was it. You survived Yoga 101, class number 1. You should feel warmed up now. If you want to play around with downward dog for a few more minutes, please, I encourage you to do so. It is one of the most common yoga poses. It's also one of the poses that a lot of emphasis seems to get put on straightening the legs and pushing your heels toward the ground. And it's really just not important in that pose. It's more important to feel balanced on our feet and our hands. Weight is evenly distributed from our top half of our body and our bottom half. Always keep a bent knees. You'll always see my knees bent in downward dog. I hope you enjoyed Yoga 101 class number 1. I'm so grateful to have you here. You're already warmed up, so if you feel like moving on to class number 2, go right ahead. Otherwise, I'll catch you another day. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you want more EB Yoga, check out my website. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.